So I called Yunnan Tower and said, "Do you know if they have lights?" And he said, "I don't know, but I'll call up there in the telephone." And as we are on the downwind leg, the lights come on, and here I am to tell you about it. The other incident was on January 6, 1945. You know, there are some dates you'll all remember in your life, in addition to the day you get married. This was the worst day of weather flying in Air Force history. What happened is we took off and realized quite quickly that this was a highly unusual weather day. It was kind of like a day like today with a lid over the whole Chabwa area. But when we got to altitude, we realized that the wind seemed to be blowing a different direction from the west. And certainly we were having more violence than ever before. And of course, the ice, you have ice in the carburetors. You have heaters to break it off, but it doesn't always work. You had boots on the wings, fluctuating boots to break off the ice. But if they're no longer functioning, they're removed and not replaced, because this is maintenance at the other end, the other side of the world. And so we got to our first radio checkpoint and realized that we were about, we estimated, 50 miles north of the course. And so we talked it over and decided we would take an oral null. That works this way on your radio. In the bad weather, you can't get a reliable reading. So you reach up into the ceiling and tune in the station you're headed to and turn it until you hear nothing, a null. And that's the direction of the station. And fortunately, the pilot and I remembered our training and did that. And we were able to make a good lane. We made a correction of 30 degrees into the wind. Now, that's unheard of in flying. Anybody who flies knows that you never correct by as much as 30 degrees. But we did. We had to make a choice, and we got to Kunming and fully expected to remain overnight. But the word was, from the CO, I have no authority to allow you to RON. You've got to go back. Well, that's unbelievable. Now, the commanding general was General Tunner, and he was advised by many pilots on that day to call the hump off, to call the whole thing off and save airplanes and save crew. But he did not until about 20 minutes later. And in that short time, we lost 13 airplanes, all to the weather. And so General Tunner later became head of the Berlin airlift and did a good job there, perhaps for a reason that he may have learned something from his hump flying. So I think the hump, it may not have been a necessary operation. It's in the CBI, which is the least known theater of the 7 theaters of war. Most people don't know about it. Maybe some of you do, some of you don't. China, Burma, India. And the centerpiece of the CBI was, of course, the hump. But I think it played some role in aviation history, inasmuch as we showed the way for instrument flying, for seat-of-the-pants flying, because often the instruments were not functioning, in a way that fighter pilots and bomber pilots could not and needed not to do. And so I think it has to do with the design of airplanes, so that about 2 years ago, for example, when the French airline plane was lost over the Atlantic, and the first reports were that the plane probably blew up, or not